Well, you're you're
Yes.
you're you're more well versed in classic Who than I could ever be. Well, I suppose if I spent enough
Yeah,
time, but
I think I think that's why I do have one teeny, teeny, tiny, tiny complaint before we even get started on this. The
Okay,
doctor was never that much a chauvinist.
Okay.
Yes, talk, and I shall listen.
Okay, so we got Twice Upon a Time, Christmas special, Doctor Who. Here we go. So, overall thoughts before we get into specifics.
Well, I really did love the send off, and that ending cheers me up every time I've seen it, and I've seen it thrice already.
It didn't tear me up, but I did find it fitting for 12. It was a good ending speech. Like of the speeches, like the only doctors who've really gotten speeches at the end of theirs have been the new Who, and it's only the real two that got speeches have been 11 and 12. They got speeches. They got full monologues to go by. It's like, I'll always remember when the doctor was me. And then 12's. I think 11's is a little better, but I think 12's is very fitting of 12.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that part of the ending.
Okay.
I was talking about the battlefield. The scene in the battlefield.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that entire scene, really. First of all, Lethbridge Stewart is one of my, the Brig is one of my favorite characters, companions. So there is that. And
yes. The Brigadier.
Yes. So that salute at the end is just like kind of an homage to the send off that the Brig got in I forget which.
I don't remember the name of it, but the one with the Cyberman, with the Cyberman ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was also the entrance of Missy too, wasn't it?
Not the official entrance of Missy.
Yeah, the official entrance of Missy was right then.
Because Missy technically started in Deep Breath, where, at the end of Deep Breath. But she was kind of just hinted at who she was through the entire season.
Yeah. And, and it's another episode ending in a crater where everyone lives.
Yes.
I love his line, or what the line was, where it was from, but when the wind stands right and the doctor comes to call, everybody lives, or something like that. I forget what that phrase was, but I really loved that phrase.
Well, I think, Jack, stop it or I'm taking that away. The phrase itself was just this once, everybody lives.
That was what he said.
Yeah.
When the doctor breaks wind, everybody lives.
This was actually a River quote.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was another one. That was the Doctor Dances or but the episode that ends in a crater and everybody lives. The one that gives Whovians nightmares with "Are you my mummy?" and gas masks. Here it is. Some days are so blessed. Some days nobody dies at all. Now and then, every once in a very long while, every day in a million days, when the wind stands fair and the doctor comes to call, everybody lives.
That one.
That's one of my favorite That's one of my favorite quotes. In Doctor Who. That also is a fun episode where he's just like, just this once, everybody lives, Rose. Everybody lives.
Yes.
Yeah. What else was there? Yeah, I didn't count the cloister bells, but during the last scene, but I assume it rang 13.
Yeah, I didn't count them.
But that's the kind of thing they would do in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That sort of detail. Like, yes, the cloister bell rang, but it rang 13 times. Let's see. Overall, I mean, it was all right. Not my favorite episode, but it was good for 12. But it seemed, maybe I'm just forgetting something, but it seemed a bit odd that 12 was that conflicted about regenerating, considering his whole mantra this entire time. This is like a big chunk of his arc was, am I a good man? And he worked that out on the same time you got the salute to the Brigadier.
Mm-hmm.
He worked out, I'm a madman with a box and a screwdriver, going around helping out, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest problems with that, is that, and the first Doctor never was that conflicted either. The first Doctor wasn't conflicted about regenerating. He regenerated because he was, frail. His body is wearing a bit thin.
Yeah, which is where the War Doctor's final lines are about too. It's like, wearing a bit thin. I hope the ears aren't quite so prominent this time.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, he gets 9, so. Regeneration seems to, whatever you want, you're probably not going to get. You're going to get the opposite of it, so don't say it out loud.
You see, the regeneration is not about what you want or what you want is the opposite of what you get. It's, you get the opposite of what you are.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's how it works generally with the Doctor, but with others, they've shown they're able to kind of semi-control what they're gonna be like.
I believe it's more controllable if you regenerate non-traumatically.
Yeah, that may be it. Because the Doctor always waits till he actually uses them as saves instead of just, you know what, I want a new look. Boom, regeneration.
Yeah. Like Romana, when she regenerated, she had more time. So it's kind of like, you know how in certain video games you have save points and you can save ahead of time before going into the big boss, or you can save right before you're about to die, and then you get sent right back to that point. That's kind of what the Doctor does. He waits until the last minute when he's like, shoot, I'm about to die. But if you give Jack, if you have a little more leeway, you can control it because you are a little calmer with that state of mind. And so you can actually say, okay, I want to look like this.
Yeah. Which is, in some ways, it's, it's a little wasteful, but you do have a lot more control over it, to a sense.
Much waste because you're still dying.
Yeah.
But it's more the difference between dying slowly and dying fast.
Yeah. Though, and then you got 2's induced regeneration into 3. That one, he literally was picking out a face. It's like,
yeah, he
no,
was.
he's too old. He's too, too this, too that. But yeah, that struck me a little odd that he was conflicted about going on. 10 being a little more conflicted, in some ways. I don't want to go. Yeah, that sort of thing. That's less. I guess that's less about him wanting to remain 10, because 10 was a little vain on that regard. He used regeneration to remain the same face.
Yeah,
he specifically worked a regeneration to a way that he could still keep the same face. He's like, no, I'm not going to be me. I'm not going to be new. I'm just going to use the regeneration energy to remain me.
And you see, that's sort of what you can do if you give yourself enough leeway, enough time. He gave himself enough time, and he controlled his regeneration, and he regenerated it into himself. Yeah. He liked his face, he kept it.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, how much did we didn't ever hear what 11 wanted out of his next regeneration, but his was also semi-calm, because it was just that he was old.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't about to die. I mean, in some years he might have, because Time Lords just go on forever, even when they're old. But
his body will be a bit thin.
Yeah, they go on. They just keep going. But yeah, it was actually relatively calm. It was a relatively calm one, and it was also a rather quick regeneration in terms of how quickly he went from 11 to 12. Was just like.
Yeah, and there wasn't that explosive energy discharge.
Yeah.
Which really is only a new Who thing. Because the classic Who, there was never really a traumatic discharge. The most traumatic regeneration of classic series was 4 into 5. And that's because he fell off a ladder, a really high one, and ended up his regeneration was interacted with by the Watcher.
Yeah.
And it, and then it wasn't a traumatic explosive regeneration. It's just 5 ended up with a really strong amnesia, kind of like what happened with 10.
But let's see. Yeah, and what is it with a new showrunner? They all.
I know they get rid of
TARDIS always ends up on fire, and the Doctor flying about. It's like, why don't you do the sensible thing and remain parked?
And they get rid of everybody. Like, I really didn't. I love Bill and Nardole. I love them. They have such great chemistry. Just all of them,
If nothing else, I want like 5 seconds with just Bill seeing the Doctor, just after the regeneration, just for the reaction. Oh, okay, so that's how it is.
That's better.
Yeah.
No, you see, now that's a lot better.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like every new showrunner we have to completely burn the TARDIS and have the Doctor falling.
And get rid of all of the, and burn all of the bridges from the series before. Get rid of, 10 had his last hurrah with his, I don't want to go. And then he went and, said goodbye to everybody.
Yeah.
Basically. you know, and they gave like closure to everything. Whereas I just once I would like a handoff that wasn't just okay, let's reboot the entire series basically. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Stop.
technically River did cross the
Did
Davies Moffat line, but
she really wasn't in much for Davies though.
yeah, but she was technically she was there. I mean, if you want to, I'm just being really technical and nitpicky and hair splitty, but
Yeah.
But technically, she did cross the Davies Moffat line. But again, that there wasn't there weren't many that did that. There probably won't be many that crossed the Moffat Chibnall. Is it Chibnall or Chibnall?
I don't know.
We'll find out soon enough. We'll be saying Chibnall enough for the next few years. We'll know who it is.
Yeah.
People will be cursing his name enough in the next few years. Not because he's necessarily going to be bad, but just every showrunner is going to have something that's going to make somebody mad. You can't please everyone, and somebody's going to rage, and they're going to do Chibnall!
You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot
not
of
Tuvians. It's like, I don't like that. That's not quite right.
There were a lot of stories, Moffat stories I actually did like. I didn't like some of them, and there were certain story arcs that I think he kind of really shouldn't have done. But, I mean, from him we got Osgood and Kate. We got, Kate Stewart.
Yeah.
We got,
which there should be, I mean, there always needs to be a brigadier of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't, I love the fact that they made Kate. They gave that whole thing, because honestly, the brig, you have to have some legacy with the brig.
Let's see what else. Okay. So, do we want to dig into the episode now, or the episode, like, events of the episode? I mean, yeah, it did seem a bit, putting aside that it seemed a bit odd for either 1 or 12 to be that sort of anxious about regeneration. If we just put that aside and then we move on, I do love when they. Oh, one thing that I found kind of odd and found it interesting was that the TARDIS, like in Day of the Doctor, when 9, 11, and 10 all not 9, War 10 and 11 all stand in the TARDIS together, the TARDIS gets confused and tries to make the console look like it's a mishmash of the respective sort of places. We got the round things back. Why didn't it do that for 1 and 12? Like, try and make a mishmash of 1 and 12.
Probably because the one they went into was it 10 or 11?
The ones they went, I would guess 11s, because
I thought
it
it was
actually
11.
had his stuff in it, I think, and then I could be misremembering that, but
so you see, it's kind of cellular memory as far as which doctor am I supposed to cater to, because I know all of these doctors. But they went to the first Doctor's ship, and the first the TARDIS.
Okay, well, the first one they went to was 12's, so.
Oh yeah, true. That would have been.
That would have. They would. Now I wouldn't expect the ship to remember 12, because 12 hadn't been in it yet, but 12s would
Just
certainly
been
remember
so long
ones.
ago. It could have just been so long ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
or
even the
didn't feel
doctor
like it.
forget.
The TARDIS is a willful thing. she's a
She is.
willful creature. Um,
She is.
but I
I
do
gotta
like
say,
seeing the
though,
round things again.
Yeah. I gotta say, Mr. Filch, the guy who played the first Doctor was Mr. Filch from Harry Potter.
Okay.
He did a great job with Hartnell, except they made him too much of a character from the 60s. They made him such a chauvinistic D-bag as far as like, you know, the first Doctor, yes, it was the 60s, but he wasn't so, oh, it's a woman's job to clean. You know, he wasn't such a sexist chauvinist, you know? Also, well, that thing with the, I'll get to it when we get to it, but he was such a chauvinist in this. And well, it did make for great humor. That bugged me because the first Doctor was not like that.
And I'm gonna have to rely on your expertise in that regard, as I have only seen bits and pieces of first Doctor things. But what was I saying? For once, we got something that wasn't it isn't an evil scheme, Doctor. For once.
Yeah.
He's like, usually it is, okay? Give me some slack. Usually I show up, it's either some unthinking animal just acting out its natural tendencies, or it's an evil scheme. 99% of the time, it's one of those two things.
I don't know when it's not an evil plan.
Yeah, I don't know how to handle that. There's no evil here. It's just, you're actually kind of decent. You're just taking people, getting their memories, and then putting them back. Well, you're actually giving them an extra few minutes of life before you put them back.
I do like the first Doctor's reaction to the state of the TARDIS.
This is
what's wrong with the light? Oh, it's supposed to be like that. It's atmospheric. This is the flight deck of the most powerful space-time machine in the known universe, not a restaurant for the French.
And I love a little good French ribbing. just give the French a little shove in the side, just for, because it wouldn't be really British if they didn't just bang on the French a little bit.
Of course.
Tell something's really British when it's both British and it's making fun of the French.
Are you getting sick too?
No, I breathed in at just the wrong second, and I breathed in a little saliva, and it wasn't very pleasant.
Oh, I hate doing that.
But yeah, and the effects on Testament, or whatever it was, testimony, yeah. The glass thing.
Yeah.
It may have just because I was watching it in 720 on like a decade-old TV through a coaxial cable, but the effects looked a little because I just DVR'd it. It looked a little stoppy.
Stoppy?
It's hard to describe.
You mean like stop motion?
No, sort of a jerky motion. It wasn't as smooth as it could be.
It was probably your DVR or something, because
yeah, that's why I said that first, because it's like, yes, I'm saying this with the caveat that it could have just been my equipment.
Yeah, it's just you.
But And we got our Dalek, uh, our seasonal Dalek, with Rusty showing up.
Let's go to the sunglasses thing first, though.
Okay.
The first Doctor in sunglasses.
Yeah, it's one of those anachronistic things where it's just like, what?
Why am I wearing these? Because I love it. Never take them off. What's browser history? I really need to ask. Somebody needs to ask Osgood what is in his browser history. Because she seemed very impressed by it, and anytime somebody mentions browser history, he's like, nope, you're taking them off now.
But yeah, and it does sort of, you know, that's sort of where he's going off on, why are you wearing sunglasses indoors?
They're Sonic.
Yes. You know, basically he's sort of admonishing him from going from Sherlock Holmes to James Bond, instead, you know, in the way his reliance on gadgets, you know.
Like, you're absolutely right. I should have noticed that. Well, maybe if you could actually see.
Yeah. It's like you've become really reliant on these tools and less on your powers of observation. And one is like, he doesn't have any gadgets, so he has to focus on observing and figuring out things without them. But,
and it's like, why does he have a sonic screwdriver and sonic glasses?
but yeah.
And
if he tries to use them both on a portal at the same time, he just confuses them. If anything, we're confusing it. Man, I love the other Doctor.
Me too. I watched that yesterday. They made the first Doctor too sexual in this, like too human, you know? He was never like that. He was never so, you know, human male. And I do agree. I do like the humor that they used with it, but it was so out of character for him.
Yeah, the what came out of it was funny, but it was planted in the wrong soil to begin with. It made funny fruit, but it was planted in the wrong soil.
Yeah. Quite beautiful, really, isn't she? Yeah, if you like ladies made of glass. Well, aren't all ladies made of glass in a way? Very good, sir, very good. Are we now? Oh, my dear, I hope it doesn't offend you to know that I've had some experience of the fairer sex. Yeah, me too. Their reaction to that. But the Doctor, with the whole experience of the fairer sex, no, he would never have said that.
Yeah, a World War I soldier, an old, you know, the Lethbridge Stewart line. Yeah, if he said something like that, yeah, absolutely, yeah, that makes sense. He would say something like that.
And maybe the whole ladies made of glass thing is stretching it. I mean, maybe, but that's more of a Ben thing than a Doctor thing. If they had Ben and Polly in there with it, maybe, you know, Ben would have said something like that.
Yeah.
But the Doctor, no. And the Doctor would have admonished him for saying that.
Yeah. It's, yeah. So yeah, there's some problems with some of these. There's some problems with motivation and some problems with characterization. I
mean, I can understand as far as, you know, they're new. It's a new Who writer, so they might not have done enough research with the classic Who. because, and I understand it's really hard to find First Doctor episodes, but I mean, at least they do have a refurbished 10th Planet, you know, where it's not the best quality because it's basically just they took screenshots and put at the bottom little narrations. But I'm pretty sure that BBC has the audio of it and it's narrated like an audio drama. They should have listened to that or done something, you know, done some research first.
Yeah, if there's anyone in the world who has a collection of Doctor Who media, it's the BBC.
I know, and he's writing content. Exactly. Read your own content before you go and.
Anyway, let's see, what else was there?
The face hugger Dalek. Probably just rats. I'm used to rats. And then the Dalek goes face hugger.
Let's see, what else?
And then the Doctor 12 going on talking about how if you are Bill, I wouldn't want you to. I want you to stay here because I don't want you to get hurt again. And it's like, seriously, you're looking right at me and you don't even see me. Don't even know I'm here. Correct. I ask you to respect that and respect me. You're an arse. You know that? You're a stupid bloody arse.
Mm-hmm.
I always respected you. If I hear any more language like that from you, young lady, you're in for a jolly good smack bottom. Could we just pretend that never happened? I'm a broad-minded girl. I mean, I know we have that whole professor-student thing going on, but can we just never, ever talk about this again? You know what? I hope we talk about it loads. I hope we spend years laughing about it. And then watching it a second time, that's just like, oh, because you know what's happening.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't have a lot to say about it until we get. I mean, he gets the information, finds out that they're not an evil scheme. From there, and then.
The very first Dalek that to ever get naked from me for me. What is it with all the innuendo?
Well, yeah, that's actually not true because you had the Dalek that told him to that you would make a good Dalek.
That was. Oh yeah.
That would have been the second one, because that one opened when he died. He just sort of opened up the thing.
Yeah.
So technically the second one, though. True. If one had been there, then it would have been, but one wasn't there, so. Second.
No, it's not, because in the episode The Daleks, the very first season of Doctor Who, 1963, sure it was unwilling, but they did have a Dalek that came out of its confines and they captured it in a sheet. Because first they tripped it up with a tarp, because at that point they used the Daleks used static electricity, and that's why the floors were metal, because it conducted the static electricity which allowed them to move. And so they used a plastic tarp underneath to stop the Dalek. And so he climbed out of his shell to actually move.
Yeah. Which, suffice to say, over the years, the Daleks have received some upgrades.
Oh, yeah.
They can no longer be stopped by a plastic sheet. or stairs.
I know.
No, not the stairs.
If he makes it to the second floor, I'll show him what that plunger's for.
But
I don't mean what you ran away from. What were you running to?
yeah, we get the whole explanation of why he went out.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that,
There's good and there's evil. I left Gallifrey to answer a question of my own. By any analysis, evil should always win. Good is not a practical survival strategy. It requires loyalty, self-sacrifice, and love. So why does good prevail? What keeps the balance between good and evil in this appalling universe? Some kind of logic? Some mysterious force? Perhaps there's just a bloke. A bloke? Yeah, perhaps there's just some bloke wandering around, putting everything right when it goes wrong. Well, that would be a nice story, wouldn't it? That'd be the best. But this is the real world. It's not a fantasy, a fairy tale. Yeah, you dash around the universe trying to figure out what's holding it all together, and you really, really don't know. Like I said, I wrote it on paper.
Yeah.
You know me in the future. Do I ever understand? No, I really don't think you do. Everyone who ever met you does. You're amazing, Doctor. Never forget that. Never, ever. Stop that. But yeah, she's saying that the Doctor is the reason why good always wins.
Yeah. Because he tips the balance in just such a way that it knocks the whole alignment to one side.
Although it does make you wonder then, if the Doctor is the reason why good prevails, why was good prevailing before the Doctor traveled?
Because you're not thinking fourth dimensionally. Because he was already... It's a bootstrap paradox in a way, because he created his own reason for being good. Because good always won, and that made him curious, which led him to becoming the Doctor, which led... and it just starts going circular. He causes his own sort of goodness.
He is his own reason for Gallifrey.
Yeah. Because, it's one of those things with the Doctor, you got to think fourth dimensionally. You got to think with time as well mixed in there. And it's not a strict progression of events. It's more like a wibbly-wobbly ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing.
Timey-wimey? Do you have to speak like children?
It's a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Yeah, so I mean, it's... Oh, I should watch that again. But yeah, it's a bootstrap paradox, which is funny that Capaldi was the one who had that little segment with explaining the bootstrap paradox in Beethoven's music. But yeah, what else was there?
And this is where we get to, it's not an evil plan. Well, I don't know what to do when it's not an evil plan. Not everything's evil, Doctor. You're not the only kind one in the universe. Mm-hmm. And then Bill yells at him for not wanting to regenerate. Mm-hmm. What do you mean you're not going to regenerate? There has to be an end, Bill, to everyone, everywhere. I'm just so tired of losing people. And they agree to return. What the?
Madrox's phone is going off again.
Facebook notification.
Yeah.
And they agree to bring the captain back, but they'll take him because it's their fault. Like, but why him? What's so important about one captain? Everybody is important to somebody somewhere. And
and also the Doctor has never met an unimportant person.
True. I mean, that's basically the same thing he says. He's just... Yeah. And again with the, I regret, Captain, that the universe generally fails to be a fairy tale. This iteration of the first Doctor really is obsessed with fairy tales, isn't
he? Yeah. Of course, that always... fairy tales have been sort of a thing that's kind of floated around Moffat's time in a way, because, you have Rivers, like, I hate fairy tales. It always the wizard always turns out to be him.
and of course, Moffat and the guy who plays Captain Lethbridge Stewart,
Gaddis, I think.
Mark Gaddis, are in charge of Sherlock, and every fairy tale needs a good old-fashioned villain. Mm-hmm. I think Moffat and Gaddis just have a thing for fairy tales.
Yeah.
And they just have weird things with names. Captain Archibald Hamish Lethbridge Stewart and Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart.
Yeah. And, at first, one of the things that I thought would have been... The Lethbridge Stewart is obviously the superior choice. But it would have been funny if they had... Gaddis's character had been a Holmes.
Well,
that would have been the wrong...
He did play a Holmes in...
Yeah, he played Mycroft, but that would be the whole point, was that he looks like Mycroft, or Mycroft looks like him, and it would be linking the two Moffat things, and Sherlock and Doctor Who apparently occur in the same universe.
Sherlock.
Yeah, they would actually connect the universe. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, the Lethbridge Stewart was a better way of doing it, but the Holmes is a funny way to do it
too. They've already done a Sherlock Holmes reference in the Moffat era. The Christmas special with the talking snow, with the killer snowmen.
Yeah.
That Smith was basically Sherlock Holmes. He even did the cap.
Okay.
He even had the hat and the magnifying glass and the cloak and everything.
Let's see. Okay, well, I guess at this point they say their goodbyes, and he steps into the TARDIS for the last sort of his sort of scene. And one of the strong points of, I think, of Capaldi and most Doctors, but Capaldi does it really well. Smith does it pretty well. Tennant did it okay. I think he had his moments. He had some really great moments, but Smith did some really good, like, it may be up to Moffat writing as well, but Capaldi does a really good job at delivering monologues, especially big, epic, sweeping monologues. He's always been good at that in his time as 12. 12 was, admittedly, he's not my favorite of the New Who, but it's a bit like Neapolitan ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of vanilla. He's not my favorite.
Oh, please!
But he's still good. But he's still good. It's like bad pizza. It's still pizza.
Unless it's the thin crust, crunchy pizza that you throw in the oven and it Ugh.
Yeah. I am also a proponent of the thick crust, especially I kind of like the deep dish.
I need thick crust.
Yes, the
Thin
deep
crust
dish.
is not pizza.
The deep dish.
I'm from Chicago. What do you expect?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Deep dish is the best, but forever of all the opinions in this episode, if anybody's actually listening this far, that is going to be the opinion that's the most controversial. It's like, no, get some New Yorkers. Oh, no, it's not the best. It's not the best.
Crispy crust on pizza should be illegal.
Yeah, it needs to be at least sort of that normal thickness, at least that much.
If
Preferably deep dish.
Thin crust, it needs to be at least a soft thin crust.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even if you don't have a crust, let it be soft.
But anyway, getting off the pizza tangent. But yeah, but he does have some really great speech moments. His bit in the graveyard where he's talking to, I'm just a madman with a box wandering around, and a box and a screwdriver wandering around. I know I'm not getting this exactly right, but helping out, learning. It's just that was very quintessential Doctor.
He's just really good at delivering those. He just delivers the meaning of it so well. Like the Christmas 1914, the Christmas armistice never happened again, any war, anywhere. But for one day, one Christmas, everyone just put down their weapons and started to sing. And he just delivers those lines with such, depth to it.
Mm-hmm. So, shall we get to the final words of 12? There it is, the silly old universe. The more I save it, the more it needs saving. It's a treadmill. Yes, I know. They'll get it all wrong without me. Which is that's 12. That's 12. They'll just get it all wrong. Well, I suppose one more lifetime wouldn't kill anyone. Well, except me, in a way.
You wait a moment, Doctor.
And this is where we get a lot of the meat of this speech. Let's get it right. I've got a few things to say to you. Basic stuff first. Never be cruel, never be cowardly. So we get a little bit of what we found out was sort of the Doctor's internal monologue, motto. And then they follow that up with never ever eat pears. So now we're getting a throwback to 10. It's like, I don't like pears. If I wake up from being human, I don't want to taste pears.
Remember, hate is always foolish and love is always wise. Always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind.
That's one of my favorite lines, that last line, always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes kindness isn't nice.
True. I mean, just like that whole Fluttershy thing.
Yeah, that's essentially, it's that whole Breezy's thing. Never fail to be kind is not always to be nice. And...
Oh, and you mustn't tell anyone your name. No one would understand it anyway. Except children. Children can hear it. Sometimes. If their hearts are in the right place, and the stars are too, children can hear your name. But nobody else. Nobody else. Ever. Love hard, run fast, be kind.
Laugh hard. Yeah, laugh hard. Run fast, be kind, Doctor. I let you go. There's a tremendous amount of running involved.
Always. But that whole except children can hear your name, always makes me think of like Peter Pan type thing, and you know, like the fairies from Peter Pan.
Yeah, there's a lot of very doctory things in there. And there's some of it is very and some of it's very wise, and some of it you have to remember that, you know, like, love is always wise. Well, from whose perspective are we talking about the love? Because two people can show love and be at complete odds.
The right way.
Two people can both be showing love, but be at complete odds to one another. And so, which one is wise? But I guess more of a general sense of love instead of a more specific. But that line of always try to be nice but never fail to be kind is probably my favorite line in this entire little speech. Though the pear thing, they needed a reference, or they needed something funny to sort of. It's a very heavy speech, and he needed something thrown in there to sort of lighten it up. And it would be really funny if we see 13, like when she first sort of kind of gets her bearings, and the first thing she grabs for is a pear, and it's like, pretty good. Your taste buds.
I don't think they'd do that.
just to be different, just for a laugh, and
they did throw a little bit of humor in this episode.
Yeah, it was
just enough to keep you from like getting too emotional at the end. You know,
yeah, and
it turns out really funny, and even though they totally butcher the first Doctor's personality in order to do the humor.
Yeah, that may be what they were trying to do. When they were writing it, they were like, we really need some comedic relief. This is far too serious for Christmas.
Yeah.
We need something funny, so they messed with the first Doctor to get that humor.
I think if they would have brought Ben and Polly into it, or even just Ben, although you'd have to have Polly if you have Ben, because they did have people playing Ben and Polly for that transitional scene. If they had Ben and Polly in there, Ben could have supplanted the Doctor scenes, and it would have been far more natural, because that is Ben's personality right there.
Yeah.
So, because he really is a product of the 60s. He really is that type of person. He doesn't mean anything cruel about it. He isn't like an ass. That's how he is, because that is his era.
Yeah. So, he's a product of his time.
Exactly. So those lines about like women being made of glass and stuff, that would have been natural for Ben to say. And
if he had been with Lethbridge, if it had been Ben and Lethbridge saying that, and then the first Doctor poking him with a stick saying, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
There's quite enough of that. Especially when you find it especially clashes with the sort of egalitarian nature of the Time Lord, Time Lady Gallifreyan society. Because everybody could be either at any given time, because they regenerate, and there's no telling what you're going to become unless you know, if it's under traumatic conditions, you could be anything. And you know, you could be this one, or you could choose, this regeneration I'll be female. This regeneration I'll be male. I feel like doing some male stuff for a while.
To be purple.
I'm not. I think there are limits, but
no. Romana did that. Okay. When Romana was regenerating, she came out as different species. You know, not just humanoid. I mean humanoid, but not just human. She came out as different forms, because the first, you know, I think it was the first or second one she tried out. She was Princess, I think it's Astra, from Key to Time. And the doctor's like, no, you can't do that because that's, she was you're taking her image and that's an insult to her, And so she tries on a whole bunch of different things. One of them's blue, one of them's, and then she comes out wearing the doctor's hat and the doctor's scarf and the long coat. And the doctor is like, see, now that's better. Stick with that one. And she's like, okay. And she takes it off and there's the image. and he's like, oh.
But, okay. Well, at any rate, you as much as, Time Lord Society is sort of that sort of egalitarian, anybody could be anything at any given moment.
And also the first doctor, he was very proper as far as that goes. He was very much like, he was above it all. He acted very much above it all. And he wouldn't have said those kind of things. He would have said the spanking thing. He would have said,
he actually did say that at some point.
I think he did. He would. That is definitely something he would say. It's like, I will spank you if you misbehave. I think he said, I'll put you over my knee or something like that. But still, I mean, that is something he would say. That one would have stuck. But the rest is so much more Ben.
Yeah. So they could have solved a lot of the problems, though it would be more finding stuff for those two to do, if they had actually included them in more than just the intro.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good end for 12.
It's not my favorite Christmas episode, but then really, how can you beat Dr. Mysterio? That's like the best episode of New Who. As far as Christmas specials go.
Anyway,
hey, wasn't Capaldi technically the 12th Doctor?
The what?
Capaldi.
Yeah, Capaldi plays the 12th.
So the new one's the 13th Doctor, right?
Yes.
He's the 13th Doctor or 14th, depending on if you count the War Doctor.
Yeah, he's the 12th in name, but you start getting into numbers, it gets a little confusing. If you're talking about faces of the Doctor, he's the 13th face. If you're talking about regeneration, well, then you've got, he's the 13th, I guess, because you have the double, 10 had one inside of his regeneration.
He would technically be the 14th.
14th. Well, I mean, you got your first one for free.
Now Troughton, Pertwee.
Oh, I'm not talking about faces. I'm talking about regenerations.
No. I know, but I'm saying regenerations. Baker, Davidson, Baker again, different Baker. McCoy, McGann, Hurt, Eccleston, Tennant, Smith, and then Capaldi.
But
there's the War Doctor, and there's Hurt, and then there's a double Tennant.
But yeah, you start getting into regenerations, then it starts getting a little. The numbering on the Doctors is consistent up until.
It's consistent as far as the Classic Who goes.
Yeah, as far as Classic Who, until you get to the end of Classic Who, it's fine. Up until McGann. up until McGann, all the regenerations
Technically,
in there.
it was counted as classic.
Okay.
New Who was counted 2005 and up.
Okay, but I wasn't sure because episodes versus a movie. But anyway, yeah, up until 8, everything is consistent. Then you have the War Doctor, so there's an extra face and an extra regeneration. So everybody's face and regeneration goes up by
2.
1.
No, by 2, because the regenerations go up by 2 because Tennant had 2 regenerations.
Well, I mean, from that point until, and then I was gonna go into Tennant, and then it goes up by 1, and then Tennant has 2 regenerations in him, but 1 face. So there's 13 faces of the Doctor, 14 faces of the Doctor now, but they've regenerated
now 15 times. 14 times regenerated.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier too. It's 14 regenerations, but used up 14 generations because it's always 1 less than the number of faces because he started with 1 and he didn't have to regenerate when he was born.
Yes.
And Doctor is confusing.
Technically, if you follow the if you count the books as canon, which some people do, he is his birth is a regeneration because he was loomed and he is a reincarnation of one of Omega's friends. You know, Omega and Rassilon. There was a third known as the Other who helped create helped stabilize the black hole that is used to create time travel. And that is what is known as the Eye of Harmony. And he was, when he was put into the Matrix, he was reincarnated as the Doctor.
He was reloomed, he was recombined to make
the Doctor.
Make the Time Lord that would eventually become the Doctor.
Well, the Gallifreyan that would eventually become the Time Lord known as the Doctor.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Gotta love semantics.
Yeah, we're talking Doctor Who here. Splitting hairs is going to happen.
And talking to hairs is going to happen if you watch Day of the Doctor.
You were just a rabbit, aren't you? You're just a bunny rabbit, aren't
you? I am 904 years old, and I'm going to stop your evil plans of world. You're basically just a rabbit, aren't you?
I think he stopped. It's like I'm 904 years old, and you're really just a bunny. Okay. But yeah. I when I was making the sort of video card for this episode, I was like, okay, let's do something Doctor Who-ish with it. So it's the same one I used, same sort of camera angle as we used for all of the Orville stuff, but it's got Doctor Who's with Who tapping on the camera as he's sort of peeking up from the bottom of the screen. Like he's sort of inspecting the camera. I don't have there's not a Capaldi version. I'm not sure there's a 3D Capaldi version. So it's like, okay, well, you'll just be 10.
10 is, for some reason, the most popular. But honestly, as far as New Who goes, because everybody knows Troughton will be my favorite forever, but I mean, hence Dr. McCrimmon, Jamie. But as far as New Who goes, I personally think they've just been getting better and better. Like, I did not really like Eccleston at all. He was bleh. I liked the episodes. I did not like him as the Doctor.
I liked, if I'm ranking them of New Who, I know it's not that Capaldi is bad at what he does. He does a very good job of being 12. He is very good at being 12. I'm just not a fan of 12 as much. He's, again, Vanilla Ice Cream. I still like it. It's just I would rather, if I have my druthers, I'd rather have the chocolate or the strawberry. And frankly,
I hate strawberry.
Frankly, if it's 11 and 10 are real close, 9, and then Capaldi is right in there with 9, but maybe slightly below. I don't know. He's I'm not a fan of the grumpy doctor as much as I am of the.
Well, it's not really grumpy so much as very much like the first Doctor, where he wasn't exactly grumpy, but he was very, father knows best, basically. He was very much the, I know what I'm doing, so do as I say type. He was very much the authoritative.
Grumpy.
It wasn't exactly grumpy, because it's not. It wasn't grumpy. It was more, kind of controlling and kind of, smarter than everybody else. And he liked to express that. And yes, that is definitely his biggest flaw, is he was very sure of himself, and he's very, I know it all, But I mean, when isn't the Doctor? I mean, the 11th Doctor, Smith, was all like, I'm being brilliant here and there's nobody here to watch me.
Yeah. Well, the whole Pandorica speech is, I'm brilliant. I'm freaking brilliant. I'm very, very clever.
To challenge
do you really want to mess with me? You guys know what happens when you mess with me. Why don't you guys go away? Just
let's do the smart thing and let somebody else try first.
Yeah, it's like, just shoo. There's no need.
That is the epitome of the Doctor in all of his incarnations, though. He is very confident, and it's that confidence that causes people to follow him. It's that confidence that lets people know, okay, maybe we should listen to him.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's not that he's there's not been in my opinion, there's not been a bad Doctor,
except for Eccleston.
From my opinion, in my opinion, there's not been a bad Doctor in New Who. I think all the New Who Doctors have been good, at least good, if not great. And we can't judge Whittaker yet because he hasn't done anything yet, but we'll see. I'm assuming she'll be good because there
are some people who are actually saying, somebody posted apparently on Facebook or Instagram or something, one of my role play buddies who role plays as the 13th Doctor, because it's the new Doctor, so when the Doctor regenerated, so did their character. And it's somebody posted that they hope that the Doctor falls to her death and regenerates into a man.
Oh, dear God.
I know. I'm like, what the? You're kidding, right? It's like, nope. Somebody posted that on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's... Yeah, you never know whether that's... they mean that, or if they're just doing it to be edgy.
To be a troll.
Yeah, well, to be an edgelord. Now I'm going to say something really controversial, and that's going to get people's dander up. And okay, and I'm going to enjoy watching them, yell and scream. And it's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, if he legitimately believes that, but if he's just being an edgelord, it's.
I mean, okay, so Doctor Who is one of the only shows where the character turning into a girl actually works.
It's true. I love Missy. I think Missy is actually the best master. And my master was Amy. So she replaced...
Oh, she is awesome.
So I love Missy. And Michelle Gomez is so brilliant. And I will miss Missy.
Yeah.
Wait, she's gone?
She's gone. She's officially gone.
But
no!
Yeah. I mean, I liked Sims, but again, I don't have the rooting in Classic Who like you do to judge masters being masterly. But
yeah,
I liked
not masterly.
I liked Sims as a character. His master as a character. I mean, without any grounding, without any rooting in the thing. I liked him. I mean, this is kind of a nice thing that we have both perspectives, because you can bring in the Classic Who and I can bring it without any sort of reservations or preconceived notions about what it should, what this should be. Like New Who, Doctor Who essentially begins at Eccleston Rose for me. I mean, I've seen a little bit of Classic Who, but I haven't sat down and watched significant portions of it. So
honestly, I liked Sims as a character, but he wasn't the master, because the master is, and Missy. Again, she really is brilliant, and I love Missy. Not really the master, classic master, because classic master was very much the Moriarty type, and that's what he originally was created as, the Moriarty to the Dr. Sherlock.
Yeah, because you have this amazing mind that, this is the way you need a mirror. Because, I mean, yes, he can beat up Daleks all he wants, trick them, do whatever he wants, does what he does to the Daleks on a regular basis. But they don't challenge him on an intellectual basis or on an ethical basis very much.
I think what saved Missy from being, made her more of a master than Sims, she was devious with it. Yes, Sims did the whole Harold Saxon thing, but it was more just a Looney Tune. Whereas Missy, she admits she's bananas. She's, crazy. I am a psycho bitch. But guess what? I'm also brilliant. So good luck stopping me. And
you are stone cold brilliant.
Exactly. She is, and I mean, I think the epitome of Missy is say something nice. Because that whole concept of it being a riddle, where she's just like, say something nice. And if you don't say something nice, you get blowed up. And that is something that the master would do. The master would test you. And then he'd probably kill you anyways. But
he would play with you first.
Sims master was just too simple. Like, to quote the Ronnie, which I really, really hope they bring the Ronnie back with Chinball. Or Chibnall, whatever.
Yeah. New showrunner, dude.
I hope with the new showrunner they bring back the Ronnie.
Yeah, there are a lot of, especially with Gallifrey being saved, there's been a almost criminal underuse of Time Lords in Doctor Who.
But the Ronnie wasn't on Gallifrey. The Ronnie was banished. She was banished because a scientific experiment caused her lab rat to grow to an enormous size and eat the president's cat. I'm not
Well, that's
kidding.
one way to get banished.
I'm not kidding. That is the reason she was banished.
But
And so why the hell would she come back for the Time War when you banished me? Bye, enjoy your war.
yeah.
She's not stupid.
But yeah, they need more. We need more interaction with Gallifrey proper. You know, like it would be kind of cool if she now, went to. We got her seeing Gallifrey a few more times. You know, they find Gallifrey. They, it's.
They could bring back, maybe not bring back Ace, because Sophie Aldred is much older now, although they could bring back Sophie Aldred, Ace as a, what's she doing now? Because, she joined the Paradigm Academy. She became a Time Lord. The Doctor trained her and got her into the Time Lord Academy. So,
okay. So here's two questions.
Time Lord.
So,
what?
One, apparently Gallifrey has cats.
Yes.
And
rats.
two, do the animals in Gallifrey also have a regeneration process?
No, that was a virus thing.
Regeneration was a side of was created as an attempt to cure Pythian's curse. Pythian was Rassilon's wife. And when Rassilon, Omega, and the other created the stable black hole called the Eye of Harmony, which enabled time travel, it caused sterility. The Time Lords are sterile. They only procreate through looms. They basically genetically modify offspring.
They basically weave.
And they're only allowed a certain number per family.
Yeah. And when somebody in your house dies, then you get a chance to you loom. They die their final time. They get you can activate your loom and weave a new member.
Yeah. And while certain members are immune to the curse, like the Doctor apparently is, if I remember correctly, but that's also because he is a reincarnation of the other. So, but I believe he's immune, and there are one or two others who were immune to the curse, but even then, it's still taboo to procreate that way because they're above such things.
Yeah, and it takes away from the
sex.
control of the looms, where they can control the thing.
It's they, with the looms, they control how the child and how many Gallifreyans there are and how, the genetic code, whereas, procreation is a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
And
wasn't
time structured to take chances like that.
Yeah. Wasn't the the cure was it I didn't hear about it being an attempt to cure the curse, but it was a virus of some sort that he developed to spread this genetic change, and that's what ended up with regeneration. I could be remembering I seem to remember there's like 2 or 3 different explanations throughout the years for the regeneration, but I think
I think it's also part of what allows for time travel, because it's called the Rassilon imprimatur. In the episode The Two Doctors, which is one of my favorites, for obvious reasons, but they one of the androgams had created time travel, but no, not the androgams. Two scientists named Kurtz and Reimer created the time travel, but the androgram stole it. And in order to get it working, because it wasn't working, they coerced the Sixth Doctor to make it work. And he mentioned how you need it primed using the Rassilon imprimatur, which is part of their genetic code tied in with the regenerations.
Yay!
But
12 o'clock.
They've retconned that shit so much over the years. It's insane.
Okay. Well, so I guess we should wrap this up. Overall thoughts. It was all right. He had a good ending speech. And I look forward to seeing what they do with Whittaker. We'll see how they use her.
And as far as how they use her, I really hope they don't just abuse the gender differential. Maybe make a joke about it. Make a joke at the beginning just to acknowledge it, and then, okay, yes, I'm a woman. Get over it.
Yeah, I would kind of like anytime she sees somebody she's seen before, and they're like, "Oh, you're a woman." Okay.
Well, I mean, it happened with Missy, and Osgood right away is like, because it's like, so you're probably wondering who that is. Oh, that's the Master, regenerated as a woman. Yes, that's right. So, I mean, it's not going to be that shocking to everybody, especially after dealing with Missy.
Yeah. Especially funny if she gets called a copycat. It's like, oh, so Missy decides to become a woman, now you decide to do that? Okay.
Yeah, like jokes like that, and like one time she has to like wear high heels for some reason. She's like, "How the hell do people walk in these?"
Anyway, I guess we need to wrap it up. It was all right, and thanks for watching. If you've been watching, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye, Dwayne people.